I just bought this house at the auction. This is part 2 of Chronicles of a Landlord. The house is a crack house. I had to get the guy out, and I'm gonna tell you about the before and after. Okay, look, I just brought 2 houses. This is after I brought the last house before the eviction. So I just got those 2 houses. One is in Harlan Clark, and the other one is it's like off of like West Orm and 288. I just refinanced them. I got like 90,000 from the refinance, and like this is probably like the second most money I had at a time. So I heard about the auction. It's off of like Alameda and 610, and I went over there. I prepped the night before, and I had like a list of all the houses I wanted to buy. In my head, I was like, okay, if I buy 3 houses for like 60,000 and kept like 30, I'll be okay. So that was my game plan. So I came in. I think my girlfriend at the time, she came with me, and we got a house, not at auction.com, but there's like different tables. I don't know if you're familiar with the auction, but there's like different tables. There's auction.com, and then the other side is for like the liens. Like you buy the liens, and then the owner has to come back and buy the house from you, and then they got to give you a percentage on the money that you spend. So I'm on the auction side. Like you got to have cash. You got to either have like cash or a cashier's check. Like no checks, just cash. Like cashier's check, cash, probably like a money order, but it has to be cash. So I had like 60,000 on me, cash, like increments of like 10,000 and 5,000 in cash. So we brought this house, like we're blind with this one, like, but the house was for 7,200. So I felt like at the time you couldn't lose, even if it had foundation problems or whatever. So we got that house. So after that, I went to auction.com. It's like a couple of rows over. And that's like a live auction. You know, the guy's like, it's like 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. Like he's going real fast trying to bring the value of the house up. And one of the houses that was on my list was going up for auction, and it sold. It sold for like, I want to say 45,000. And the person that brought the house, they didn't have cash. They thought they could buy it with credit card, or they could come back in like 24 hours and buy the house. And it don't work like that. Like you need the cash like right then and there, or they're not gonna sell you the house. So it was a lot of people that wanted that house. It was like this girl, she was always there. She was always on a computer. And she always was like, I think looking up the houses and seeing about the liens and stuff, but she just never brought anything. I guess she was just working on like the perfect opportunity, but you know that never comes. You just gotta buy houses at a whim. So the house went back on. It went back up for auction, and so I had my hand up, and I was going back and forth with this one person, and so the house sold for like I brought it for 35,000. Like the other person finally gave up. 9,000.
Sorry?
9,000.
9,000 by Mario is the last bid. Or any other bids? 9,100 by Sunita. Or any other bids?
92.
9,200 by Mario. Or any other bid? 93. 93 by Sunita. Or any other bids?
94.
94 by Mario. Or any other bids?
95.
95 by Sunita. Any other bids?
96.
96 by Mario. Any other bids? 10,000 by Danny. Any other bids?
10,100.
10,100 by Mario. Any other bids? 10,500 by Danny. Are there any other?
And then the same girl I just told you about, she was like, she just kept on asking me if I had cash, and she was there with her mom at that time. So they just was like grilling me. They was like, you got cash? I was like, yeah, I got cash. Like, I got cash, and I got everything. So, you know, the lady comes, she, you know, gets my cash, and I think I had like $5,000 over, so they'll send you back a check later on. So I had 40, I think. So she gave me the deeds, I signed some stuff, and then I think they even verified with auction.com to see if I brought it. And they was pissed. So got my 2 houses. I went to go check on the houses. The one that I got for $7,200, that house was like, it was like just the slab, and then like half of the house was up. Like that house was like destroyed. So I put like I think my boy Josh came to see how everything was, and he was like, just put a for sale sign up, see how much you'll get. That's another story. So I want to go check on my other house, the one for $35,000. That's what this story is about. And there was like 6 cars in the front, and so I didn't know what to do. So I started asking around, and I talked to a cop, and he was like, "Hey, look, you need to write up a letter and tell them that you're the new owner, that they need to either start paying you or they need to vacate." So I wrote them a letter. I came. I like knocked on the door, and I was like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm the new owner." They didn't open up the door, but they were like talking through the window. And he was like, I was like, "Hey, look, I'm the new owner. Like, what do y'all want to do?" And he was like, "Hey, just leave the letter in the mailbox." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Man, I'm the new owner." Like, and then so they didn't say anything. So I put it in the mailbox and I left. So I went to the courthouse. So I think I filed the eviction, and they told me like, "Hey, it's like a process. Like you got to go to court, and it's like $125." So I got paid, and I think my hearing was like 2 weeks later. So I'm working on the other house that I got basically for nothing. Like I'm demoing it, and then we're like putting up the walls and the sheetrock and electrical. So I'm there every day, and it's not far from that house. Like that house is on Airport and 28, and the other house, the crack house, is by West Belford and I think MLK. So they're like miles from each other. So I'm just like, after I'm finished rehabbing this house, I'm driving to the house to see if they left. So I'm driving by constantly. So one day I drive by, and the cops pulled me over, man. They're like, "Hey, did you come from that house?" I was like, "Nah." I was like, "But I'm the new owner though." And they're like, "Man." So they had the guns drawn on me, and I had my hands up, and I'm just like, so they pulled me, they started searching me, and I'm like, "Why y'all doing all this?" And they're like, I guess they're searching for drugs. They think I brought drugs from their house, and I'm just like, "Hey, look, man, like I'm a law-abiding citizen, blase." Like the whole time I'm just like, I'm a law-abiding citizen, like I'm like angry because they got the guns drawn on me. They're like searching me. They're all in my pockets and everything, and that's how bad that house was. Like everybody that was leaving that house, cops was pulling over and trying to arrest. So it is what it is. So I think my court comes up, right? So I go to court, and I think I'm 30 years old at this time. This is 2017. So I think this is March of 2017. So no, not March, February of 2017. So the judge was like, she was like, "Oh, how old?" She was like, "Are you old enough to be in this courthouse?" I was like, "Nah." I was like, "No, man, I'm 30." But she was nice to me, so she like signed everything, and she gave him like, I think 5 days of vacate, because they didn't fight me, they didn't go to court, they didn't even call me. Like they just let me they could have fought me, and they could have prolonged the process for like another 3 months, but they didn't fight me at all. So I went over there, and I was like, "Hey, look, y'all got 5 days, but they still don't say anything. So the 5 days comes up, so I'm with the cops over there, and so they finally talked to me, and they're like, I think it was me and my father and then the cops, because like my dad, he changes all the locks for me. So the guy's name was Raymond. So he was like, he called like an eviction place, and I'm like an eviction lawyer, and had me talk to them. And I was just like, "Hey, like, we had this house, and so he was like, hey, will you give me enough time to get my beds out, and he had like 6, 7 cars. He had like 4 cars in the parking lot, like 3 in the back. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So I think we gave him like another week. And so we came in a week, we changed the locks out. I think they broke one of the windows. But I mean, it is what it was. So I think we gave him like a couple more days to get his cars. Like 3 days. So he comes with his I guess his worker, whoever he was, and man, they got like fresh Jordans on, new outfits, and I'm just like, I was like, why they could have did so much stuff to stop that eviction and just did, I don't know, like they stopped paying that mortgage, but the mortgage probably was nothing. It probably was like $500-600, so I don't understand, but anyway, so they got their cars and they got out, and then I went to work. I think my guy at the time was Curtis, so he came and we were like, they had roaches everywhere, like they had like these big old fans, like they have no AC. I don't even know how they're cooking in there, like the roaches were so bad, like when you go to the cabinets, like you just see like the roaches like run by like this. They're just like, so like we're like knocking everything out, and it was like really bad. So like, I mean, if you listen to like all these rap songs and stuff, like man, the crack house is like is man infested with roaches. It's not what they make it seem to be in these rap songs. Like don't listen to 2 Chainz. Don't listen to none of them. Like the crack house is not what it is. It's horrible. So we're rehabbing the property. And we're fixing it up, and every day, like I'm not lying to you, every day somebody comes by for Raymond. They're like, "Hey, is Raymond there?" Like people. It was like girls come from U of H. It was like biker guys. It was like people from different walks of life. Like it was like Asians, Hispanics, like people you wouldn't even know that was on drugs. You just be like these are like functioning addicts, like coming by, they got 9 to 5s and they coming by to get their fix. And I'm just like, hey, look, Raymond no longer owns his property. So like the neighbors was talking to me and they're like telling me like different stories and stuff, and they're like, man, you should like tell everybody you're Raymond's nephew and start. I was like, nah. I like, man, I just want like a legitimate real estate company. Like that's all I want to do. So like the trash guy, they wouldn't get the trash, and then so I talked to him. I was like, hey man, what's going on? Like, why aren't y'all getting my trash? And he was like, hey man, this house is like under surveillance. Like, so we stopped getting the trash. I'm like, hey, well, I'm the new owner. Like, y'all need to start getting this trash because it's free. Like, get the trash. So they started getting the trash, and then it was like crazy. Like women would come in. Like one time, this woman came in, and she just came in. She was like, oh, y'all renovating the place, and then she started taking her shirt off, and I was like, I was like, Raymond, this is no, Raymond no longer owns his property. Like, I own this property now. And then she left. But so like we're renovating the property, and man, I was getting like 5 phone calls a day. Like, I don't know why I was getting so many phone calls. Like, I think people thought like he had like a stash or like drugs somewhere like in the attic or something, because I was getting like mad phone, like at least 5 phone calls a day. So it was ridiculous. So I finally rented out to this girl, and she I think this girl and this other person was like in a bidding war, and she was just like, man, she like, I don't care if I gotta like sell my bodies for this property, like I'm gonna get this property. But the other girl, she was like, Hey man, I got the deposit right now. I got $1,300, and I got first month's worth. So, and then she had like all the paperwork. So I didn't have to do any of the paperwork. Like she had like her Social Security. She had her boyfriend's info. Like everybody else was gonna be in the house info. And I was like, okay, this will work. Like she had to deposit first month's rent. I was getting low on money, of course, because I was still working on the other house. I was like a big old rehab, and so I rented out to her, and then she basically changed. She turned. It was like a 4-1, and she basically turned the house into like a halfway house, and I wasn't aware of that at all. So she basically like subleased me, and she was renting every room out for like $500, and I mean it was cool because I could have evicted her, but I didn't want to because I was making my profit. I was still making like $500 a month. That's all I wanted. And then they didn't complain. Like nobody complained. Like when you have rentals, like you get a lot of complaints. Like probably out of all my rentals, I probably at least get like one complaint a month about like a plumbing issue, an AC issue. Like they never complain. Like unless it was like something major. So I was like cool with it. And then, you know, I want to say last year, the city kept on messing with her because at first she was trying to do it for like the mentally impaired, and then she changed it to a halfway house because like she needed all these like requirements and stuff, and she didn't want to pay all that. So now I own it outright. Like she was the middleman, now she's out the way, and now I own the halfway house, and now I'm making all the profits. So, you know, in the end, it worked out for me. Like I didn't have to worry about like all the like going down to the city and getting all these permits and stuff. Like she kind of did all that for me. So basically, I think that's it. That's the story.
All right, 3, 2.
In summary, man, basically my conclusion is like, you know, with these rental properties, you know, stuff gets hard, and, you know, just don't give up, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. Like, you know, you just got to go through, you know, your bumps and bruises, and you're going to be able to get that cash flow, pay down the mortgage, and then you have generational wealth for your kids and yourself. And and one more thing, click on my SoFi link. If you set up direct deposit, you get $75, and if you open up an account, you get $50. And then I have my Webull link. If you sign up with that, you deposit $100, and then you get 2 free stocks. And then the SoFi, you have to deposit $100, and then you get $50. Y'all have a nice day.